What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Just got out of work. So today's video I want to talk about learning, but more specifically formal learning, school learning versus self-learning, and talk about some of the differences and how I feel if one is more superior than the other. For a quick little background for people that don't know, I do have formal education. I have 2 degrees, one in medical, I'm in my scrubs, healthcare field, and one in the fine arts. With also, I took about 6 or 7 courses in business. I technically have a minor in business as well, but nonetheless, that's just a little bit of my background. So I do have some formal education. I have 3 siblings. My oldest sister has a bachelor's and a master's. My second oldest has a bachelor's, a master's, and a JD, a Juris Doctorate for law. And my third oldest has a bachelor's as well, and I have 2 degrees, a bachelor's and something else. So yeah, our family does come from formal education, but when you compare that to self-learning, I believe that self-learning, I don't know if it's superior. Well, yeah, I feel like it can be superior if you're disciplined enough. The problem with formal education, depends on the school, but the actual structure of formal education is pretty consistent across the board, across America at least. And that is, it teaches you how to memorize, it teaches you route memorization, like I said, and it teaches you how to take tests, especially in California, but in other public schools across the country. Their main objective, of course, they want you to learn, but they want to make sure the test scores are higher, so you might become a good test taker, but not necessarily, you're not really expanding your mind, you're not really challenging your mind. So like I said, it does depend on what type of schooling you have, if you have private education versus public. I've done videos about that in the past. So I've only gone to public schools, but I have been to really highly competitive, I've been to extremely highly competitive public schools. So I've experienced that. And then I grew up primarily with really crappy schools, public education. So I know the contrast. And yeah, a lot of times the teachers, it's just easier to pass the students, to just pass them and just pass them along, rather than fail them. If you fail them, the parents are probably going to get pissed off. The administration, it's just a lot of drama. So it's unfortunate. It's a lot of times people just get passed through, even though, let's say, their reading comprehension skills are that of a 4th grader and they're already in the 6th grade, but I digress. So with the formal education, it doesn't teach you how to balance a checkbook. It doesn't teach you really deductive reasoning. Now, this is not always the case, but a lot of times it kind of keeps you in that box. It doesn't allow you to think outside the box, and it keeps you in that structure. It's kind of like a cubicle, like an imaginary cubicle where you're just boxed in on a 4x4 cube, and that can be definitely problematic. So as I've been out of school for quite some time, I've done some more self-learning by reading more books. I probably should read a little bit more, but trying to acquire more information. And the one thing that's great is if you're disciplined about it and you begin to enjoy learning, then it can open up a lot more doors. So for instance, like if you learn about something, and the more knowledge that you acquire, and I've noticed this, and it probably applies to everyone, but it's true, when you start to acquire more knowledge over a certain subject, whatever subject matter that is, you begin to realize how much you don't know. The moment you think you know everything is the moment that you really are just you're not thinking straight, because that's the best way to get a little bit more intelligent, is to acknowledge that there's so much more out there that you don't know. You may be an expert in certain fields, like they say, you do 10,000 hours of certain, you can become an expert, I guess, if you go by that. Like in my profession, I mean, I've been doing it for over a decade, for so long. So, am I an expert? Am I still learning things? Yes, but do I consider myself to know quite a bit compared to when I was a new graduate? Absolutely. Doesn't mean I can't still learn, and I still learn new things as I progress in my career. So I think that the other thing with the formal education, and I blame it partially on the structure of formal education, but also I blame it on the fact that, how do I put it? Psychologically, when you just have to only pass a test, I do feel like, and it's happened to me before where it's almost like you can't learn freely because you know that you have to focus on these certain things about the test. So you kind of, you know what I mean? It kind of just puts you in that box, like I said. Whereas when you're doing self-learning, there's no pressure to take a test. There's no pressure, right? And by having no pressure, if you're disciplined enough, I think it helps you expand your mind and allows you to take in more information, information willingly, as opposed to being just ultra focused on certain little aspects because you know you have to pass a test and you want to get into college or graduate school or whatever. So hopefully that makes sense. There are people that have been homeschooled before. I'm not sure if there's anyone on my channel or that supports my channel that's been homeschooled. That would be, if you want to comment, that's great. But yeah, that's just my take on the self-learning versus the formal education. I'm not dogging formal education because I think formal education definitely helps you, and unfortunately you could definitely tell when someone doesn't have as much of a formal education. It doesn't make them any less stupid. It has to do with opportunity and certain circumstances. But if you do have a formal education, that doesn't, and then once you get your degree, I don't know how old you are, that doesn't mean you should stop learning. I think that's the main key. Don't stop learning. Realize that even if you think you know a lot, there's always someone else that knows much more. And by doing this, I think it'll make you a more well-rounded person. Let me know you guys and gals' thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next video. Bye.